Hi and welcome to another video. In this video we're going to be looking at the CXC Technical Drawing SBA mark scheme. Now I'm sure you're all wrapping up your SBA now, or you're just starting it if you're in fourth form, and you're getting all these work and your teachers are telling you to submit this and submit that, but you do not know why do I have to do these and how much marks are allotted to each piece of work that I'm completing. Now in this video we're diving into the whole breakdown of the marks allotment for your SBA. So as you know, your SBA is divided into three sections: section 1, section 2, and section 3. Alright, and section 1 is the fundamental of technical drawing, aka fundamental of industry. Section 2 is the plain and solid geometry section, and then section 3 is your major project. Your major project that will consume the most amount of time. Now, believe it or not, your SBA is worth 40% of the final C6 score. So imagine going into your exam with 40%. Alright? So it means that we can't sleep on this. Now again, I'll link the SBA specific objective 1A1 to 1A10. So anything or any one of those objectives from 1 to 10, as well as 1B1 and 1B2. Alright, so once you complete those, no reason why you shouldn't get your 8 marks. Alright, now different teachers will give your students different things. One may be they might ask you to list 15 safety rules, they might ask you to define construction and manufacturing industry, they might ask you to complete an accident report, they may ask you to create an organizational structure chart for either the construction or the manufacturing industry. I said accident report already, or they might be asked you stuff in relation to fire safety. So for example, types of fires and the fire extinguishers, among other things. Each teacher will give their students different things based on the objectives that they want to cover, because it could be from anything from point 1 to point 10 in the objectives. Alright, so once you have those done and it is done appropriately, you will get all 8 marks. Please know that your accident report can either be in two forms. It could either be in the form of a form format or an essay format. Either way, it's fine. Your teacher will mark it. Us as moderator will also mark it as well. So just moving on to the next section, and before I do so, just note that this mark scheme will be linked down in the description as well, so you can have it, download it, add it to your overall portfolio when you're submitting it as well. Alright, and I always say it's either you have it or you don't have it. So if you don't have it, there's no way you can get the marks. If you best to have it and it's not done properly, or you have it and you can always just make modification based on what score your teacher gives to you for it. Alright, so you can skip out this section altogether from 1B and expect to get all full marks. Alright, it's either you have it or you don't. Alright, so let's move on to section 2, which is the geometrical drawing portion, if you want to call it that. Now section 2, as you would know, is the portion that involves you completing plain geometry drawing and solid geometry drawing. The plain geometry drawings are generally engineering drawings, or engineering curves rather. Alright, and it is marked based on knowledge, application, and practical ability. Alright, now you are given 3 marks for knowledge just for producing the drawing. It doesn't matter if the measurements are off or whatever, just to produce the drawing. So say for example you get an ellipse and you draw the ellipse. Alright, you'll get the 3 marks automatically. It doesn't matter if your measurement is 5 centimeters off or 2 centimeters off or 1 centimeter off. Once you draw it, that's 3 marks, because you're proving your knowledge to know that, oh, I know about ellipse. Now when it comes out to application, we're marking you for applying the correct principle of geometric construction. What are we talking about here? We're talking about things that the construction lines and those stuff, basically the evidence that shows the progress of the result. So this is the working out and this is the result. You're also being marked for line weight or line work and line type. Basically we're talking about the thickness of the line and the types of line that is used, whether you're using center line, in detail line, section line, phantom line, whatever line it is, as well as line weighting. Now, something that I always say is that the main subject of your drawing should always be what is popping out at you on the drawing. So it is what is going to be bold. Alright, and that's the same for plane and solid geometry as well. Once you produce the drawing, 3 marks. You get another 3 marks if the line weighting is good. I always say, if you're going to be doing your plane and solid geometry drawing and you're doing your engineering curve, say for example you're doing an ellipse, and the ellipse, the elliptical shape and the elliptical shape only is going to be what is bold. Everything else is going to be construction line. If you're not sure, make your line weighting for, say, the object itself, which is the ellipse, make it 32. Make the construction line 0.05. You can't go wrong there. At least that way you can clearly distinguish between the two. Alright, so all other line except for the main subject, which is the engineering curve or the ellipse, you're going to make that 0.05 for the construction line, and the main subject, you can make that 32. Alright, 0.32 or 32, whatever it may be. I think it's 0.32. Alright, when it comes down to practical ability, this is where we're marking for the accuracy. So, for example, if you get something to draw and it says that it should be 10, don't make it 11, don't make it 12, 13, or 14. Alright, we're marking for the accuracy. So whatever is given to you on the question, that is what you should do. So if it's not accurate or totally accurate, you're not going to get full marks here. Again, we're marking for line quality, line work, and line type. Again, thickness of the line and the line types that are used. We're also giving marks for dimension. As I said before, it's either you have it or you don't. So if you don't put any dimension on the drawing, it means that you can't get that 2 marks. Alright? And when it comes down to neatness, again, that's going to affect neatness, because everything has to be balanced for the neatness. How the drawing looks, how it is arranged, the line types that you use, how it is positioned on your paper when you lay it out to get the 2 marks. And that will brings you to a total of 18 marks. So plane geometry is 18 marks. Now, in previous year, I believe that you had to do 3 drawings, but there has been modification where 1 drawing is good enough. Alright, but if your teacher gives you many, submit them. Alright, your teacher will mark the best one, so you get the best score, and the moderator, such as myself, will also look at the work and mark the best one for you. Alright, so to maximize on the score that you get. Now, so please dimension your drawing. I have to say this because I see this very too often, that person will dimension their drawing. So once it's a circular object, say for example it's an ellipse, dimension the major and the minor axis if you're doing rectangle method, so the horizontal and vertical. If you're using, say, concentric circle method, the diameter of the circle that represents the major axis and the minor axis. If you're doing, say, a cycloid, same thing, you're measuring the wheel or the circle, the diameter of it, as well as the horizontal, which is basically representing the perimeter of the circle. Alright, so that is that. Moving on to solid geometry, it's the same exact principle. Just producing the drawing, you get 3 marks. Ensuring that the geometric construction process is there, you get 3 marks. Line work and line type, or line types and line work are accurately placed. For example, if there needs to be center line, ensure that those are there. Same treatment for the object line and the construction line. For the line types, you can't be using hidden detail lines for center lines and center lines for hidden detail. You have to use the correct line type for the specific purpose. Alright, on to the practical ability sides of things. For another 9 marks, again, accuracy, meaning that they're done to the correct measurement. We're looking for the line type, line work, all that stuff, and again, dimensioning your drawing, as well as the neatness. Now, your solid geometry could either be oblique, isometric, perspective, or even orthographic. Alright, so please ensure that you either have one of those or all of them for your teacher to mark. Now, we're going to be moving on to the major project section, but we're going to be looking at the building portion first. Alright, now for building and mechanical students, the first portion is fairly similar, where we're actually marking you for the business plan that you will have produced. Now your small business plan, now this should be aligned to your major project. So for example, I mentioned it in the video that will be linked down below in relation to your business plan should complement what you're doing. So if you're a building student, it should be something related to building plans and construction. If you're a mechanical student, it should be something in relation to designing a product, manufacturing a product, whatever. So if you're doing, say, a bench vise, your company basically design, create, and manufactures bench vise. That's all it is. So what are we marking for? We're marking for the organization of the portfolio. That's the entire portfolio, that is. Statement of your problem and condition. Now this here is pretty much one. All right. Now this would be given to your teacher, but if your teacher don't give you none, then you have to come up with one. Design principle. So we're talking about things like, aesthetics, ergonomics, all that stuff. Contrast, the different design principles and other stuff. All right. So you want to make sure that you take that into account. It's the same thing that is over here. That is over here. All right. So ensure that they're done properly, and you'll get 3 marks over here and 6 marks over here. Then when it comes on to the practical ability side of things, we're marking for the overall arrangement of your portfolio. That is section 1, section 2, and section 3 all put together in your portfolio for your 8 marks. We're marking for the originality. So whether you're not copying from somebody. We're marking for functionality. Alright, functionality meaning that it is suitable. So for example, a building student, you're not going to have your toilet in your bathroom, your toilet in your kitchen, all right? Or you walking through your bedroom after coming from outside the house just to get into the living room, all right? It's just not functional in a sense that is suitable in this time and age, all right? As well as suitability, for example, of material or whatever. If you're a building person, you probably could do a list of the materials that is used to build your house so that the moderator can see those, so you can get your marks there. As well as the conforming to building standards. So meaning that your line types are correct. You're hatching what needs to be hatched, those type of stuff. Things that are aligned. Your dimensioning is appropriate. All of those are standards. The measurements that you use for example, the wall, the foundation, the roof members, and other things as well as annotation. Alright, so that is that portion there of section C. Now for the final portion of section C, when we're looking at the main drawings and everything, things are fairly simple. So just to produce your drawing and submit them, whether they look whack or whatever, you get 2 marks. Alright, as well as 4 marks for the application side of things. Again, we're marking for functionality, suitability of materials. Again, I say create a list of the materials that will be used. So for building person, you could have concrete, steel, block, those type of stuff. So you can get that 2 marks there. Shouldn't take long, especially these days when you have ChatGPT and a bunch of AIs. You can use them for section A as well as other monotonous research portion. Instead of being all over the place to find out information, that can direct your focus. Alright, so conforming to building standard. Again, now when it comes on to your drawing, here are some of the pieces that you need, and here are the associated marks. Just for having your floor plan, you get 6 marks. Having a foundation plan, roof plan, and detail, 4 marks. Now please note that this could be either or either, but I recommend doing all of them, alright, because since it's classwork anyways. So if you have your floor plan, your roof plan rather, and you don't have your foundation plan, we'll still mark it and possibly give you the 4 marks. If you don't have your roof plan or your foundation plan, but you opted the details, such as the eave and the ridge and such, then you'll get the other mark. Alright, so it's either either. If you have all of them, then we're going to choose the best one, so you get maximum points. Your elevation drawings of the building for another 4 marks, and the sectional views for 5 marks. Alright, now once you dimension all of these here, just putting on the dimensions. Once you put on dimensions on them, you're going to get 2 marks over here. Just putting them on. Alright, same thing for over this side here. You get another 4 marks. 4 marks, 2 marks, so that's 6 marks. So if you don't have a dimension, it means that 0, because it's either you have it or you don't. Now the second portion is how you do your dimensioning, how the dimensioning looks. That is another 4 marks. So the dimensioning, say for example it's a building drawing, you're not going to be having arrows for the ends of your dimension. You're going to either have architectural ticks or oblique tick or whatever it may be. You can't be having circles at the end of your dimension lines. Alright, so it is how you do it and how it is arranged. Alright, that's the 4 marks. That's a dimensioning. So you have it for dimensions, and then dimensioning is how you do it. Alright, for the whole practical ability side of things. Then the techniques in relation to line work and line quality. I've said this over and over, the different line types that you use and the line weightings. Lettering. So letterings will take on various things such as titles, labels, and annotations. So you need to have those, and I mean the text font sizes, you could use whatever you want. You could use Arial, which is the default, which is a good one. You could use Stylus BT, whatever you want to use, it's fine. Alright. In relation to symbols, this takes various things. So symbols could represent hatch pattern. Say for example, title heads, sectional cutting plane, arrows, those type of stuff. All of those are symbols among other things for your 2 marks in your building plan. And then now we're marking for neatness and presentation. So the overall thing, how it is laid out, how everything looks, basically the neat and tidiness of your drawing for 3 marks. Alright, so all of that will be worth 53 marks. Alright, now moving along to the mechanical side of things. For those of you doing mechanical drawing, the top portion remains the same in terms of like the business plan, statement of problem and all that stuff, for 3 marks and 6 marks. When it comes down to the practical ability side of things, again, we're still marking for originality, suitability of materials, so you need to have that, as well as standards. So building standards are different from mechanical standards. For example, conforming to BS international standards, and as well as the ISO standards. So ISO 9000, and this is so BS is British. You would have known about this from probably your research or what you have done in class. And then we have the ISO standard, all right, in relation to mechanical drawings and so forth. All right, again, still marking 8 marks for layout, so section 1, 2, and 3. But let's look into the part that has the bulk of the marks. All right, so again, just producing your drawings for your SBA, 2 marks there. Same thing over here. It's either you have it or you don't. As long as you have your part sheet, which is basically a sheet of paper that contains the different parts that make up your object or your product. For example, if it's a table you're designing, then you know the legs, the tabletop, the rails, and the style, you'd have drawn them individually. Orthographic drawing or isometric, it doesn't matter, and they're properly dimensions and such. You'll get marks a lot. A pictorial drawing, which could either be oblique, isometric, or perspective. Often person do isometric for your pictorial, so that's that. Sectional views of your assembled drawing. Alright, so a cross section, you should know what that is. And elevations for the assembly, and then finally your parts list. Alright, so it's either you have it or you don't, and you get your 3 marks there. When it comes on to the whole practical ability side of things, marks are specific. You'll get 5 marks for doing your parts sheet, and it is done everything all good and good. Your pictorial drawing is the same treatment. Your sectional view of the assembled drawing, and your elevation plan, and so forth. Finally, we have our parts list. So once you do all of those, you'll get your 5, 3, 6, 5, 2 marks. Again, we're always marking for dimensions and dimensioning techniques. So once you have it and they're done properly, for mechanical students, you know it's going to be arrowheads and all that stuff. Mechanical student only. Architectural person, use architectural tick or oblique. So ensure that you're using the appropriate one to get those marks. Your teacher would have gone through this in class, walk you through the process, and I've been guiding you for however long. Again, we're always marking for functionality, safety, and suitability of materials. So you need to state what type of material you're using. So we as assessors can decide, okay, that's a suitable material for it, because you're not going to be making a clamp that is going to be used to hold on to metal and you're making it from wood. That's just not going to work. The wood is going to get damaged over time, and so the material is not suitable. All right. Function, in terms of like how it function, does it do what it's supposed to do based on, or will it do what it's supposed to do based on what you're saying? All right. Then now again, we're always, and for mechanical person, we're always marking for these stuff. And it is accuracy of outline, center line, hidden line, and section line. So all of these must come out in your drawing. And for your section line, you have to have those, the hidden line, center lines, and the outline, which is the object line. All right, for 4 marks. So all of those must be in. Again, 3 marks for dimensioning. And then now we have name of the project and project symbols. All right, so for example, if you did an orthographic drawing, the orthographic symbol, the hatch pattern, those are symbols. The project name. So for example, if here's a table, so if it's a table that at the end of the day you fold it up like a suitcase and take it home, and you want to call it foldo suitcase, so all right, you have that as a title for your thing to get your full marks. And then finally we have neatness. Neatness, which is basically a card presentation, how everything is laid out on your paper and printed, for another 53 marks. Now again, your SBA is worth 120 points. How much you get of it is dependent on you. Please use this mark scheme as a guide. It will be linked in the description down below. You can download it and have access to it to kind of do a checklist and give yourself a scoring based on what is here, so you can know what you're going to be getting before you hand it over to the teacher, if your teacher have not seen it as yet. All right, again, I hope this video was helpful, and it has given you an insight to what exactly you're getting marks for and how much marks are allotted to those specific section. All right, again, please find them in the description down below. If you're not already subscribed, please do share with a friend, because I'm sure someone probably needs this information. See you all in the next video. Take care.